Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Shelley Epperly here. Today is Monday, December the 17th, 2018. It's 8 p.m. New York time. That's 5 p.m. Los Angeles time. 1 a.m. in London, England, and in Sydney, Australia, it's around 12 noon, lunchtime. Wherever you're tuning in from around the world, we welcome you and say thank you for joining us for the live stream. Of course, if you're listening to the podcast, you're listening to the recording. We love having you here, too. This is a kind of a milestone day here on LOA Today because with Patty Framo going on to do other things with her life and her career, that created an opening. And interestingly enough, the opening got filled the same day it came open. I got an email from Patty saying she had to move on. And the same day, I got an email from one of our listeners saying she'd be interested in being on the program more often. And I'm thinking, this is law of attraction in action. This is exactly the way it's supposed to work. This is the universe having my back, and I love it. Yeah. So I had a little conversation with Shelley, and everything was working good. So I am now proud to say, Shelley Epperly, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. This should be super fun.
It is a lot of fun. And just to give people an idea who Shelley is, she's a self-described coach and mentor of the law of attraction. So a lot of smarts where LOA is concerned coming into the picture. She says she enjoys helping and guiding others to their best life. She's a mom. She's got two great kids, a 21-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. She says she's wife to a great guy, not just a good guy, a great guy named Scott. She's a working stay-at-home mom, and she loves making her way through life and teaching, learning and teaching, and she's been so glad to join the show. So we have some expertise coming in here, which is really good, and a new perspective too, because up until now we've had mostly life coaches, and in one case a good friend, and in another case a listener. And this is kind of similar to your situation, Shelley, because Louis D'Souza, who does the Monday morning podcast with me, is from London, and he is also kind of a self-taught guru who helps a lot of people out. And introducing him, bringing him to the podcast has been really fantastic, to say the least, because he's brought in, among other things, our understanding of Jin Shin Jyutsu, which is completely new to me, except for the last 2 months. I feel like I have some idea of what it's about now. But it's fascinating stuff, and timely too, because I've been trying to use it with my wife, who, as our listeners know, has been dealing with a medical issue, and we're hoping that it helps with that. It's been a pretty serious medical issue, so right now we're mainly dealing with the Western medicine first, but we've done a little bit of energy work. We're going to do some more, and I don't have anything to report one way or another, but certainly the information that Louis and his friend Astrid have been sharing with us has been, fascinating. It's been truly exceptional. So you have a high standard to reach here, okay? No pressure, but
okay.
So
I'll do my best.
So I read the potted biography, but what else should we know about Shelley? I mean, what makes you tick? And I don't think I really asked you, but what made you want to be on the program?
Well, I did a little a little Monday morning video this morning on just my Facebook profile or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I love talking to people about the law of attraction. It's just, when I like doing videos, I like, when I go to like a party or a gathering and people are like, oh, and if I just hear like, I met a volleyball mom because our oldest was really, or still is, in volleyball, but all through high school she was in club and everything. And as soon as one of the other volleyball moms was like, oh, so you're like vibing really well with that or something, and I was just like, oh, you're my person, you're my people, So I just love that. I don't really get stage fright, so I just love getting on here and talking, and I love like-minded people that, so my bread and butter business is reselling mostly clothes on eBay and Poshmark and Mercari and stuff, so that's kind of my day job, and this is just kind of a hobby of mine that I've always wanted to push farther. And, when we did our little video interview, I just thought it was so interesting because, I told you that my brand that I had kind of come up with was creating Happy Mondays, and you're
Right.
like, and this is happening on Monday.
On Monday, right?
Duh, because I didn't even like put all of that together. I was just like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to be on this podcast. And then you're like, yeah, it's on Monday, and it just happened organically, like it just happened, you know, it just came together perfectly.
Cue the Twilight Zone music.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good though. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed how
Yeah.
easily this whole thing came together. I mean, quite clearly you're supposed to be part of the podcast because you contact me the same day that I get the email from Patty, and then, like you say, we're including you on the same day that you do your regular podcast. I mean, it's just there's too many synchronicities there to ignore them. Yeah, so this is good. This is good stuff. And not really sure where we're going to end up going with it. I mean, we haven't really had much chance to figure out what kinds of topics we want to do or anything like that. Once again, we are opening up this particular episode for Q&A. So if you are just tuning in onto the live stream in Facebook's Law of Attraction Changed My Life group, and you have questions you'd like to have us addressed, maybe it's stuff that maybe you're a repeat listener and you want to carry on a conversation we started in a previous podcast. Maybe you just want to share some insights, some stuff that you've run into. Maybe you want to share a manifesting success of some kind. Whatever it is, feel free to put it in the comment section because we are monitoring to see what you're putting in there, and we'll include you in the discussion. But until we start seeing those kinds of comments, we'll just continue to talk here and get to know each other and find out what we're all about. Because, hey, one of the things I like to talk about is the fact that the law of attraction is about life. And that leaves, talk about topics you can draw from anything in life, and you're talking about the law of attraction from the way I perceive it. So, pick a topic. We're there. we're already talking about it, no matter what we're talking about. Oh, and we already have a question, I think. Give us some examples of how to look forward to Monday. Interesting question.
That's Jenny. Jenny is like, I went to grade school and high school with her.
Oh.
Well, we're told, when I used to live in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and she lived there too. That's where we were both pretty much raised. And she, her and I had a law of attraction group that got together every week. And we get together at a restaurant like every Thursday night, and it was just a blast. We had so much fun. We ended up moving it to somebody's house, and it was great. Some nights we'd have like guests, like energy readers that would come and read us all, and we'd do tarot readings and stuff like that. But it was all based around the law of attraction. It was pretty amazing. But give us some examples of how to look forward to Monday. Get on track with doing what you love.
Yeah, right. The only reason that Monday is ever a problem is if you decide it's a problem. So start off with the assumption that Monday is a solution rather than a problem. You just eliminated any problems with Monday.
Yeah.
By the way, I got to mention something. I didn't realize that you had spent so much time in Klamath Falls. I lived for a year in Medford, just down the road from you.
Nice.
Yeah, I did. Back in the 1980s, I was there for a year. It was the economy wasn't doing all that great, so that's why I didn't stay much longer than that. But I got to know Oregon just a little bit, and I actually worked for an organization that was owned by W. Clement Stone, who is one of the success and positivity gurus. And some of my earliest exposure to positive thinking came from being trained to work in that company, in W. Clement Stone's company. So, I have a
That's awesome.
interesting Oregon connection going on there.
Yeah, I think I moved there in 1980, and we just left in 2010.
Okay, wow, you were there a while then. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like all my teen year, from like, I think I was 9 when we moved there, and all, into having kids there and getting married and everything. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I am right across the river from Portland, Oregon now. I love it here. I would never have picked this on a map, and we just ended up here for work for my husband. And it has I love it here. It's great.
That's cool. Very good. Yeah. The one thing that I do remember more than anything else, when I was making friends, because I had lived in Connecticut and I moved all the way across the country to live in Oregon, stayed for almost a year, things didn't work out the way I needed to, so I moved back. But because of that move, obviously I didn't know anybody when I got there. And most of the people I ended up knowing, I knew them because of working for that insurance company that Stone was the owner of. And the people I got to know, well, first of all, the most important thing I learned from them is that as an Easterner, I spoke too quickly. They couldn't understand what I was saying. So I would talk like this, and they would say, "What are you talking about? I don't know what you're saying." So I would have to slow myself down to talk like this, and they'd say, "Oh, well, why didn't you say so?" But it was an interesting thing. Yeah, it was really surprising. And I have to admit, people on the East Coast do tend to speak more quickly, and you have to kind of get used to that if you live on the East Coast. But living on the West Coast taught me to slow down. So I have to give credit to that because among other things, it helps with doing a podcast when people can understand what you're saying because you're talking slowly enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my time out in the West Coast. Let's see. Well, Jenny is saying, wow, so I guess she likes the story. That's cool. No other questions coming through there. So let's see. What can we talk about? Well, let's talk about Mondays. I mean, I haven't actually done this as part of my intros for quite some time, but there was a while there where I was starting Mondays, particularly the Monday morning podcast, by urging people to start their days feeling good. Start with gratitude, start with positive affirmations, mirror exercises, whatever kinds of positive practices, law of attraction practices you engage in, and make it a special effort to do that on Mondays with the idea that Monday sets the tone for the rest of the week. And when you set the tone for the rest of the week, no matter what you're doing for a living, even when you're not doing a job that you like doing, just by setting the tone, the job gets easier. The people that you're working with become easier to work with. Bosses who give you a hard time start giving you a better time. Customers who are difficult suddenly become less difficult and actually become easy to work with, all because you start the Monday right, which is not something you necessarily have had to deal with since you're working with eBay and so forth to sell, was it used clothing online? How on earth did you get into used clothing? That's an interesting one.
I got into used clothing because my mom had an antique store in Klamath Falls.
Oh, okay.
And it was owned by my grandpa, so she kind of got to just kind of have her own space and do her own thing. Mm-hmm. And she started selling used clothes right there on Main Street and selling to a lot of the business women. And she just loved like setting up the displays. She loved the merchandising part of it,
Yeah.
And so I kind of started doing that, and then I'd already been like just selling stuff from around the house and doing a little bit of eBaying and stuff. And then I was just like, she was making so much money on the clothes, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot, and I did. And it's just I've been selling on eBay for like 20 years. So,
wow.
You just get to learn all the brands, and you just
yeah.
It's been fun. I'm getting a little burnout on it. I'm kind of exploring other things to do. I've been kind of looking at travel agency because you can do that from home. It was really important for me to stay home with the kids. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That was kind of a requirement of my life. And then, they're, like I said, they're 16 and 21. 21-year-olds moved out. So it's like, I don't really need to be a stay-at-home mom anymore.
True.
But I've gotten so used to my time freedom. I just don't want to give it up. I've thought about, I should go get a job. I could get pretty good pay with a school district or something, in the kitchen or, I don't know, being an aide or something. But it's like, then I got to go somewhere every day and somebody's going to tell me what I got to do. And I'm just like, no, I can make a good paycheck all by myself. So,
well, you're following your heart. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes Mondays for me are rough because I usually don't ship all weekend. So sometimes I've got like 20 or 30 things to ship, and my whole Monday is just like finding things in my inventory and and packing them, and like right now. The post office is crazy.
Well, this time of year, I would think it would be, yeah.
Yeah, like today I parked in a store next to the post office and walked over. I have like these big IKEA bags that I put all my stuff in, but there was just like no parking in the parking lot. So yeah, it gets a little crazy, but But, you know, I don't ever wake up on Mondays just going, you know, this is going to suck so bad, you know, and I kind of started focusing my coaching around that, like, you know, you can do whatever you want. Like, we live in America, you know, and, you know, you might not be able to quit your job tomorrow because it would be financially devastating, but you can start working towards whatever that is that you want to do.
Sure.
And if you enjoy it enough, you're going to wake up excited about it, you know?
That's true, yeah. Very true.
So.
And we actually have another question, this time from Deidre, who is a regular listener. Deidre says, I am extremely passionate about the law of attraction and want to be a life coach also, like you guys. Is there certification involved, long training, etc.? Not that it matters to me because I will do whatever I must. I just would like to know. I think I'm going to answer that one first because I want you to know that the people who are self-identified on the show as life coaches, people like Joel and Patty when she was on it, Linda, Cindy, Tom, Wendy when she was on the show, all of these are certified life coaches. All of them have been through certification processes. And for a time there, I was really emphasizing making sure I got people who had certification just because I knew that they would be really, really informed and knowledgeable about the topic. And I was looking to make the show to kind of take it to what at that point was the next level in terms of making it more sophisticated and really getting in depth into the issues and so on and so forth related to the law of attraction. Now, myself, I'm actually not a life coach. I kind of get involved in it just because, in a sense, because here on the podcast, people ask questions. So in that sense, I'm doing some coaching. But I also, you'll probably have noticed by now, I defer to my professional life coaches whenever I can, first and foremost, because they're the ones who have the training. But to the best of my knowledge, there's actually no requirement that says you have to be a life coach who is certified. Many people would say it's a good idea to become one. It certainly gives you credentials, and credentials are useful, particularly when you're trying to market yourself. But I'm pretty sure you don't have to be a certified life coach in order to hang out a shingle. I mean, that's what your experience is, isn't it, Shelley?
Yeah, the only reason I call myself like a professional life coach is because I have been paid to coach people, but I don't have any certification. It's just basically sharing what I know, and I've, kind of just brought a few people through the process of getting to a new level in their life or whatever. But,
right.
Yeah, and there are so many different schools that you can go to online and, brick and mortar. And, if you were going to pursue that, I would just really suggest finding one that really resonates with what how you feel about it, because there's going to be ones that are more scientific. There's going to be ones that are more structured, so I really enjoy the science behind all of it. And, I don't know if you've ever listened to Joe Dispenza, but he really gets behind the science of it, and I really enjoy that. But, you don't have to be certified, but I am pretty sure that it helps a lot. Like, I've not been paid, at this point, I'm not doing this for money. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it so much. And if it turns into something financial, that's great, but,
She added on to her question. She said, just for something to do related to learning more about the law of attraction, she says, I happened upon a Udemy course this past Saturday, and currently where I am in the coursework, the students have to create a master list of desires in every area of life. I have about 4 pages of things, and most of it has to do with having a career in specifically this area. And then she said, yeah, well, I'd like to just do it. I understand. Yeah, sure. I totally get that. And if Udemy gives you what you're looking for, then by all means follow that path. The other thing I can tell you is if there's any of the life coaches who are professional certified life coaches that I do the podcast with who you like particularly, maybe you like something about their approach or their mindset or whatever, let me know which one or which ones, and I will find out from them where they got their certifications so you can find out about the programs they went through. So something else to think about.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, because you're right, Shelley, there are a wide range of trainings on this kind of thing because there's no standardization. So essentially you have
Right.
individuals who have put in a lot of study. Maybe they themselves got certified by somebody else, and then they decided they were going to create their own certification program. And some of them have made it, very, very involved, very intricate. There are programs that take a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on the program. And some of them have developed pretty big names in the coaching industry, in the life coaching industry, in terms of having great reputation for putting out top quality coaches. Of course, they're the ones who also have the most difficult courses. So, one goes with the other.
Right.
Yep. But, I mean, if there's anything that we can do to help you narrow down your search and decide how you want to do it or where you want to go or what kind of certification you want, or do you want a certification? Hey, we're glad to help. Just let us know how we can help. Give us a clue.
Yeah, I read a book. I don't know. Is it okay if I throw out
sure.
names out?
Oh, we're name droppers around here. We do that all the time.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So I read a book. It's called I believe it's called The Millionaire Mentor by name Brendan Burchard, and
Sounds
he's
right.
actually up here in Portland, Oregon, and he does. But it's just a really cool book about how you can put together like your own system, like your own digital course on the law of attraction, or what horseback riding or golfing, or just basically you're an expert in something. You know more about something than most people because you enjoy it. It could be gardening or aquariums or whatever.
Right.
He's just like you're an expert in some sort of hobby, and you can actually make that into a career if you put it together. And he like lines it all out how you can put that together and make really good money at it. So yeah.
Yep, she's made a note already about Brendan Burchard, so that was a good name drop. Trying to think who some of the others are. One of the more famous ones offering certification in law of attraction life coaching is Christy Whitman. And I can't remember what the name of her school is, but she's got a pretty big reputation and has churned out a lot of very successful life coaches. So that's somebody to look at. Also, Jeanette Moore, who is a friend of Cindy Chavez's, has a school and apparently has done very well with that school. She does kind of a wide range of things, I guess. I'm still getting a sense of what Moore does, but quite successful in her own right. There's also, it's been a while since I've looked at these. There's another one that I can't remember what the name of it is. It's the one that I think that Wendy Dillard went through, and I can't remember what the name was. But anyway, well, Deidre, if any of those are, any of the people that do the podcast with me who are co-hosts, if there's any of them in particular you want to find out where they got the training from, just let me know and I'll find out for you. Oh, and she found Christy this weekend too. Okay, so yeah, you can see Christy's got a pretty big reputation online. She's a go-to for a lot of people. Yes, Jeanette Moore. Yep. I think she spells her name with two N's, actually. JENNETTEMAW. Yeah. So let's see. Any other questions coming through? Jenny said she wanted to know too. I hope we answered the questions for you as well, Jenny. And nothing else big coming in. So let's see. While we're waiting for more questions, where should we go next? Well, I know one place I actually want to tell people we're planning to do the Monday evening podcast in the evenings going forward now. And the idea is, up until now, we've almost all the podcasts, well, all of the weekday podcasts have happened either in the morning or in the afternoon in U.S. time. And that's been great for reaching people in Europe and Africa and so forth, because that tends to be their evening time for when we're doing the afternoon podcast. So we've been drawing a good audience from there. But I want to try to encourage more people from the American audience to be tuning in. And so that's why when Patty moved on and Shelley decided to come in, we were kind of talking about, well, maybe we should do it as an evening podcast, try it for a while that way, and see if we can draw more of an American audience in as well and kind of expand the number of listeners we have that way. So Monday evening at 8 p.m. is going to be the ongoing time slot for Shelley and I to do the podcast together. So make a note in your calendars. We will be putting the notes, if you're listening to the live stream, in the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group in the events section each week. So that'll give you a reminder if you're friended to me or to Shelley or one of the others. But by all means, keep following along. And if you're from America and you're able to listen in the evenings, this is going to be the night to do it and ask your questions and share your comments and so forth. So let's see the audience build. That's my goal. That's my dream. I talk about that a lot, Shelley. I mean, today, you know what I was doing today? I was doing my video vision board kind of activity of imagining what it's like to have an audience of 10,000 people at a time listening to every single episode. That's my dream. That's the thing that I really want to have happen. So this is one more step along that road.
Nice. Well, I invited several people to the group and let them, I put it out there. Well, on my video this morning, I kind of announced this whole thing and told them to go to the group and join. And I did that, just in a post too. So
great.
Hopefully we'll get more, because there's times when I get on in the mornings, not just Monday mornings. I was doing them 5 days a week there for a while, but, I'd have like 20 viewers, just like random people that were friends with me that would get on and listen while I was talking and ask questions and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. I love it so much.
Isn't it?
This morning I was just like announcing this whole thing, and then I was like saying how when things start to flow and really click for you, that you don't even realize that it's happening, because you're just kind of in the, as Abraham says, you're in the vortex and you're just kind of flowing along and everything's going great. And like, you were like, hey, this is on Monday and it just happened so great. And, I'm like, oh yeah, and so, one of the things I was talking about was just like, I use analogies a lot. So I was talking about like when you go to a restaurant and order your food, and you like use that as an analogy for ordering from the universe, and you order your burger and fries, you don't keep stopping every, the busboy, the hostess, the waitress every, 30 seconds to remind them what you ordered, you know what I mean? And that's what people do when they're trying to work with the law of attraction. They're like,
so true.
I'm trying so hard and I've done my affirmations 20 times today and I don't understand why I don't have it, And, and so I was using that because when you order your food, sometimes, it's late or they forget to put it in, or every once in a while you hit a bump like that. But for the most part, that burger and fries is coming, and you're going to get your ranch that you asked for with your fries and all, you know what I mean? So I just like to use like analogies like that, because that would just be ridiculous if you were just like, hey, come here. I know I just ordered this 2 minutes ago, but I just want to make sure you guys got it right, So
that's funny.
I just kind of feel like people do that.
That's good though. Yeah, but you're right. That's exactly what people do. It's very common, and I think it's because, partly because people aren't really sure necessarily how LOA works, but also because it's a way of dealing with our own doubts and lack of comfort and so forth. If I don't feel comfortable, maybe I'll just put it out there again, right? Maybe the universe didn't hear me the first time. It's true. We're all susceptible to that. Let's see. Oh, Jeffrey came in. We haven't seen Jeffrey in a while, but Jeffrey, you were actually one of the people that I was thinking about when thinking about whether to do this in the evening on Monday, because I know you also live on the West Coast, and I was hoping you might be able to see this. So Jeffrey has now has a time when he can actually tune in and listen and participate when it's evening hours. So welcome back, Jeffrey. Glad to see you again. In fact, I know Jeffrey and Anne-Marie, who does the Sunday night podcast, have been in touch lately. So I knew he was around. I just hadn't seen his name in the live stream list lately. But good to have you here. And Deidre has. Deidre likes the goal that I set for the group. She says, just for something to do. Let's see. No, wait, I got the wrong thing here. Hold on. Get the right thing. I always try to copy and paste it over to here, so I'm looking into the camera instead of looking off to the side. But she says, yes, Walt, an audience of 10,000. I know you can manifest that. If nothing is impossible to God who hears the desire and says that along with the desire is the means to have it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the vote of confidence. And yes, I know we can have it. I mean, the only thing that's really holding it back is my own resistance, because that's the way it always is. And I'm doing everything I can to just keep rooting that out. So it's just a matter of time. I don't know how long it's going to be, but just a matter of time. That's all. Very simple.
Well, I'll do my best to get extra people watching.
I'm sure you will. And that just makes me happy. I thank you.
My one friend is an Uber driver in Florida, and she said she was I don't know if she's on or not, but she hasn't commented at all, probably because she's driving, but she said that she was going to have it on in the car with the Uber customer.
Oh, cool. All right.
I'm like, oh, we got a captive audience. They can't go anywhere.
Well, it's funny that you should mention that, because Joel Elston, who does the Thursday morning podcast with me, has been doing it with me the longest. He and I have been doing it. Well, actually, he was like my 12th interview overall back in 2012 when I first started it. And then a couple of years later, I asked him to come back to do it on a regular basis, and he's been with me pretty much ever since then, except for one small break. And very early on, one of the things that we would imagine that we were wanting very much to manifest was doing the podcast to a drive time audience. So the idea was doing it maybe in the morning commute or the afternoon commute, depending on where we were, maybe hook in with a radio station or something like that. So to hear your friend saying, she's an Uber driver and she's playing the podcast for her listeners, it's like, yeah, that's right in line with what Joel and I have been talking about all these years together. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. And Deidre had to clarify. She wanted to make sure I understood that she's not religious, but she talks about God a lot. And that's perfectly acceptable. I have no problem with that. In fact, there are lots of different ways to refer to, God, source energy, the universe, inner being, higher self, higher being. I mean, I don't know how many different euphemisms are there, Shelley. There are probably a few dozen of them. I'm not sure, but
I'm sure there are. Yeah.
It's like my dad used to say, call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner. But beyond that, yeah. I personally, I don't tend to call source energy God. I just tend to call it source because for me it's more direct, but it's all equivalent. It's all pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I always just use the universe.
Universe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, universe is kind of safe, because it doesn't really have a connotation for any particular religion or a spiritual system or whatever. In fact, universe pretty much has been used exclusively within LOA circles, so that kind of makes it its own unique designation.
Yeah, yep. Definitely.
Oh, Deidre likes the idea of doing it in drive time. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So let's see.
It would be a lot better than some talk radio.
Oh, jeez, tell me about it. Well, Louise and I went to, she's going through some physical therapy right now because of the medical condition she's dealing with. And we had a therapy session for her today. And we're meeting with the therapist, and he's running her through some things. And he's a good guy, and he wants to distract your attention from having to constantly be doing the work. So he's asking questions about, our lives and, where were we before we moved to Connecticut and all this kind of stuff. And one of the topics that came up today kind of tied into all this, in that he was, how do I want to say it? He was opining that if you like watching television programs that are old television programs, then 60 Minutes is the right one to watch. And for people who are not in the United States, 60 Minutes has been around for 3 decades, 4 decades, something like that. It's basically an extended news program where they take an issue or two and then they dive into it deeply for about 20 or 30 minutes and do in-depth reporting on it and then give you a little discussion about it. And he was getting all excited and upset about what the latest 60 Minutes reports were. I can't even remember what they were. But they were, they were bad subjects. They were like, oh, geez, terrible things happening in the world. And my comment to him was, well, one thing you can always count on is that there will always be a market for people who like to scare other people to death. And he agreed. He realized that's what he was doing. He was listening to a program that the primary purpose of the program was to scare him to death about these terrible things going on in life. And that's what I was thinking about when you mentioned the DJ. I mean, that's what that is the most popular form of radio/television entertainment. If I put it all into one great big category, and of course there are lots of different kinds of programs, but one great big category, it's all about scaring people to death. Fear. Build as much fear as you can, because if you can build up enough fear, you can sell anything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch the news, but we live in a pretty well-populated area, and every once in a while I will watch the news because, like, say if it's snowing and I'm not sure if there's going to be a snow day tomorrow, so I kind of have the news on in the background because I'm waiting to hear if there's, that's going to happen. Or there was just a lockdown at my son's school, so I had the news on so I could see if anything was going on with that,
Right.
But it's like, it's just one horrible thing after another, and you can watch the reporters like trying so hard to dramatize it even more, and it's just like, come on, that's enough. And it's almost comical to watch because it's just like, it's just crazy. Like I like, people are like, oh, I should go on a news fast. It's been years since I've watched anything like that.
Good for you.
And people start their days like that. They turn that on while they're
of course.
to work in the morning. And
Yeah.
they're learning about every crash and murder and robbery and, it's just like,
Talk about setting up your week. No wonder so many people have a bad Monday. I mean, you start watching that stuff to start your Monday, your week's off to a bad start. That's all there is to it.
And there is so much good going on in the world. Like, even when there's some tragic thing, there's good that comes out of it, you know?
True.
I always say, always look for the silver lining and the helpers, because they're always there. In any tragic situation, there are people that come out of the woodwork to help other people. And those are the people I want to focus on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And plus, there's also a lot of, I think I'll call it spin in the news industry. And I'll give you an example. A wonderful piece of video that circulated, I think it was on Facebook actually. It came from a local television station somewhere in the South. I can't remember exactly where it was. But it showed a female weather person out in the storm, the hurricane or the tornado or whatever is coming through, and she's out in the storm and she's being blown around, and yet things are really picking up here and so forth. And as she's giving her broadcast, two guys calmly go walking past her in the background in the scene.
I've seen that. She's like leaning into it.
It's really getting bad out here.
It's just ridiculous. That's crazy. It's funny though.
It is. Well, you have to laugh at it, because otherwise you get sucked into it, right? That's the last thing you want, is to get sucked into, oh my God, all these terrible things are happening. Life, the universe, and everything is coming to an end.
Yeah.
You listen to the newscast and you'll come to the conclusion that 98% of life sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Just because the news says so.
And the thing that for me, and I think that this is true of everybody, how you act and react and respond throughout your daily life is how the law of attraction works for you. Because I think a lot of people think that if they do their affirmations and their visualizations and they do it twice a day, and then they go out in the world and they are just complaining and everything's lack and everything's negative, and then they come back to their affirmations and they're like, why hasn't this happened?
Right.
You can't act like that. You can't do your affirmations on abundance and then see a couch that you want and complain about how you can't afford it. Because you can afford it. I mean,
well, you can complain all you want to. I mean, you go ahead and complain. Just don't expect the thing that you're looking for to come in, because you just took yourself out of alignment.
Because I just think that there's a lot of people that think that those are the magic buttons to getting what you want. And the magic button is choosing happiness in every moment that you can. And I don't think there's anybody that's an example of doing that constantly. You always run into bumps and you always have your bad days and stuff. But I just think it's so important for people to understand that this has got to be like a daily choice to,
well, sometimes hourly. I mean, depending on what's going on in your life.
Definitely.
You know? I mean, and you see it a lot in the discussions in the Facebook groups on law of attraction. People talking about, well, you know, I put this message out there and I was really confident. I got myself feeling really good and it didn't happen. You know, it didn't come true. What's going wrong? Well, it's pretty obvious what went wrong. You know, you were actually not focusing as much as you thought on whatever it was that you were trying to attract. And instead you were focusing on something that worked against it or had a different vibration from it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the person who posted the question doesn't notice that part. You have to kind of bring their attention to it, hopefully in a gentle way. And most people are honest enough that if you kind of quiz them about it, they say, well, yeah, I guess I haven't totally been as positive about stuff as I should have been. It's so easy to do. And like you said, we kind of treat it often like all I have to do is do my affirmations and I'm done. Now for the rest of the day, I can talk against the thing that I was trying to affirm.
Yeah, well, I've just gotten to a point in my life where my affirmations are just my habits. Like, I don't necessarily wake up every morning going, I am this and I am that and shutting my eyes and visualizing. I just know my day's going to go pretty good. I mean, very rarely do I have a bad day.
That's
and
good.
if I do start to have a bad day, it usually ends up just being like a bad hour or two and I snap out of it because I know if I don't just stop what I'm doing and go do something that makes me feel better in that moment, then I'm just gonna snowball. Like,
right.
You know, if I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, I've learned to just pull back and go, okay, I just need to go sit down and watch TV for a minute or whatever it is that's just going to put me back in some sort of calmness, you know.
It's amazing, though, how often we'll, especially if it's something about finances or money, people will do their affirmations on their money, and then they'll spend large portions of their day talking with their colleagues about how they just can't afford to go on the vacation, and they're not quite sure how they're going to make the rent, and all these different anti-money stories, and they don't recognize that one is countering the other. Because we're so used to it. I mean, these kinds of conversations we have are habitual. We do them almost unconsciously. You know, it's just part of our daily banter. And that's the part we really need to work on, is changing that conversation around. So that's why it's so good to let go of watching the news. That's a great way to kind of shake your mental life up for the positive, just by turning off the television, turning off the radio, whatever it is your news source is, and just turning it off for a while. You know, changing the mindset that way. Because now it's not part of your... Yeah, well, forever's not bad. Yeah, I have to admit, I have had it off for periods of time in my life. I can't always leave it off because I was a political science major. And, even though I know that politics is not good for me, I still have that real curiosity, like, I wonder what they're going to do next. So I have to follow it to a certain degree.
Well, that's my little... guilty pleasure is reality TV.
Oh, yes.
I'm like Teen Mom, Housewives of whatever, Below Deck. Like, I just have like I record them all and watch them all. That's my guilty pleasure. And I'm like, I'm not sorry about it. I enjoy it. Like, well, like you're saying with the politics, like, to me, I just hate politics. Like, to me, it's just all such BS and...
Well, it is.
Crazy,
you think that for a reason.
And so I really pull back out of conversations about it and stuff like that. But like the whole reality show thing, I'm like, that's what I do when I'm just like turning off, just like powering down or whatever. I just watch that stuff, and it's almost analytical for me because I just love watching these people and trying to like figure out their issues or whatever,
That's what politics is for me, literally. That's how I look at it. I mean, talk about, you get an entire stage full of dysfunctional people out on the political scene. I mean, they're more dysfunctional than the reality TV people are.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, well, you learn a whole lot about issues about personal issues by watching politics. But I still don't recommend it. I mean, it's not healthy. It's not good for you. But if you can have some degree of distance from it, you can do it in small doses without killing yourself. Without deeply poisoning yourself. Ugh.
Yeah.
But there are times I have to just kind of push myself away from it because I can feel it. You know how it starts to, it kind of builds up inside of you, and you can just kind of feel the alignment going away. And oh no, okay, I've reached the limit. I've overdosed. Time to put it aside. Just turn it off. Make it go away for a while. I got a detox.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Gotta know what it's like. What people who drink alcohol like to say. You have to know what your limit is. Well, I do know what my limit is. The only problem is that the limit keeps shrinking.
Where's Walt? Oh, he's watching the political thing.
Oh God, not again. It's such a soap opera. That's why. I mean, it's truly, especially now, it's a complete soap opera. It's like, General Hospital on steroids goes to the legislature.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's syndicated, but Lars Larson is here in Portland, in the Portland area, and he's hardcore Republican, and every once in a while I'll just listen to him, and it's more out of entertainment, if I can't find a good song on the radio or whatever. Every once in a while I'll listen to him, and like today I just like shut him off. I'm like, this is so ridiculous, I can't even. So funny.
Let's see, Deidre says she has a question. So, go ahead and type your question in, Deidre, because we're just kind of talking about stuff, chewing the fat. We love to have something to really sink our teeth into. So, ask the question. Don't hesitate. We're waiting. Operators are standing by.
That's right.
Oh, good grief. Besides, anything to get us to stop talking about reality TV shows and politics is a good thing. So.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I need to shut these people up.
Well, actually, apparently not, because the question is kind of on the same topic. So she's asking, is it harmful to watch true crime shows? She says, I used to be addicted to shows like The First 48. Do you want to have a first stab at that, or shall I?
No, go for it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what my opinion is, and this is strictly an opinion. My wife loves crime shows. She's into... I'm not even sure if I could tell you what they are. Blue Bloods. That's the one about New York City cops. And what's the other one? Law and Order. She's into the really big ones like that. And I can tell you for a fact, when she binge watches those, she is one of the most difficult people to deal with afterward, because it really brings her down. She doesn't notice it. She doesn't realize what it's doing to her, to her attitude and to her way of thinking about things, until I point it out to her, and even then I have to do it gently. But
so those shows are fictional, right?
They're all fictional. Yeah.
Okay, so because like what she's talking about, The First 48.
Well, she's talking about true crime. Yeah, right. But
yeah, that's
but either way, it's the same thing. It's the same topic.
Yeah, because when I've caught The First 48 a few times. I don't record it or anything, but sometimes when I'm just flipping through the channels it's on, and I'll start watching it, and I get hooked pretty fast. But I think that part of it for me is, again, the analytical thing. Like, for me, if I was going to interview a criminal like that, like a murderer or something, I would want to know, like, how they were treated from, like, infancy. You know what I mean? Like, what brought you to this place where you think it's okay to take care of your issues or your, to satisfy yourself by killing somebody else? Because sometimes it's like a revenge thing. Sometimes it's just a drug deal gone wrong or whatever. They figure it out in 48 hours or whatever. But for me, those shows are super. I just love analyzing people and trying to figure out, where that behavior came from. So for me, I don't think it's harmful. I think that if you have them on all the time, or if you start acting on them.
Well, yeah, especially not that. Yeah.
That could be a little harmful.
Well, my wife has a psychotherapeutic background. She was a psychotherapist for 10 years. And if I ask her, why do you watch these things? That's why. Because she's so fascinated because of her background in, analyzing, like you were, about, analyzing why are these characters behaving the way they're behaving and so forth. But like I said, I can't help but notice what happens when she's watching a lot of them. It really does affect her in ways that she doesn't realize until I point it out to her. And even then, I have to do it kind of gently, because when you're in the middle of that, I'll call it being out of alignment from watching those kinds of programs, you don't necessarily recognize that you're out of alignment. You just start snapping at people and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any short-term physical harm to it, but in the long run, you're kind of setting up a pattern. I mean, that's really the risk that I have when I'm looking at politics. And I actually look at politics from afar. I don't watch news programs. I'll go to Google News and I'll catch the headlines and I'm pretty much done. If I see one particular headline that's talking about something that I think has probably got some meat to it, I may go look at the article and then I'm done with that. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it because I know if I do spend a lot of time, it affects my ability to keep my mind focused on what I want throughout the rest of my day. I end up, if I do it too much, this is like my big sign that I'm focusing too much on the wrong stuff, on what's going on in the political scene. My mind is too wrapped up in it. I find that I can't focus on the things that I need to get done that day. If I do try to focus on them, I do them badly. And by the end of the day, I feel like I accomplished nothing. And so I end up in exactly the opposite position from what I want to be in. Because by the end of the day, I want to be in the position of saying, I'm so excited by the things that I accomplished. I had a good time. I felt good. I was having good interactions with people. And I'm not getting that. I'm getting exactly the opposite out of it. So I think in a sense there is a bit of a harm that's involved. And that's the things that I have to watch.
I think that a lot of it has to do with, politics, it's hard to find too much positivity in it.
There is no positivity in politics. Let's be very plain about this.
But I'm just saying, for those true crime, because Bronwyn says, so does it hurt your vibration to watch true crime then? I think that if that's what, if you fill your cup up with too much negativity in any way,
right,
it's going to affect you.
Absolutely.
But then you look at, if you're a detective and you're in the thick of solving that crime, that's exciting for you and it's positive because you're solving something.
Well, that's the draw.
So that's it just kind of, I think it just depends on where you're coming from in those situations. If you're studying crime and you're watching something like that, it could be totally fascinating and positive. But, for me, I have my idea about death. And, I think that we're just here for this experience and we're going to move on. And, in that sense, that part of me isn't afraid of death. My ego's afraid of death because you're out of control when that happens, right. But when I watch those crime programs, for me, I'm more sad for all the people that have lost that person, because a lot of people are like, oh, did they suffer? Did they, whatever. But it's just I don't know, I guess I can't explain it very well, but that the death part of those shows doesn't get to me for me, it's more of an analytical thing, but I wouldn't want to watch them all the time. I wouldn't want to just turn that on every time I turn on the TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. You have to take it in small doses if you don't want to knock yourself out of vibrational alignment.
If it's interesting to you, then watch it, but don't inundate yourself with it,
Right.
That would be my uneducated suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and Deidre was actually including an interesting note from Neville Goddard. She says, now that I listen to Neville nightly when I go to bed, I have come to understand that every person is in a state, and some states are terribly destructive to others, like murderers. Well, that's true. And there's lots of gray area, too, lots of different states that we can be in. One of the reasons Neville talks so much about that state of getting ready to go to bed, go to sleep, is because in his mind, that's one of the best times to focus on what it is that we most want. And he suggests very strongly the idea of replaying your day backwards as a way to remind yourself what went right with the day and giving yourself the opportunity to do what he calls apply the pruning shears of revision, to take those parts of the day that you wish had played out differently and then actually invent in your mind playing them out differently so that you have a better blank tape coming out of it.
Replay.
Yeah, do a little revising. And I think that's a good practice.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I like to make sure that I'm focusing on the best possible that I can focus on at night. as I'm going to sleep because I know that I'll sleep better if I do. So that's why Louise and I, we don't so much go through the entire day necessarily, but we'll just try to name 3 good things each that happened that day, just so that we can finish the day focusing on positives and kind of, set the tone for, at least hopefully set the tone about how the night's sleep is going to go and whatever it is we're going to dream about. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to apply practices.
Yeah, it is. It is. Definitely.
Oh, she's got another comment here. Deidre's really typing up the comments tonight, giving us a lot to talk about. She says she has been on a starvation diet of no TV for about 3 weeks. Good for you. Congratulations. I think it does hurt one's vibration to watch that stuff. She's replying to Bronwyn, who apparently she was conversing with. And that's why I had to quit cold turkey. I paid attention to how I felt, and it wasn't good till I tried turning my feelings off. Yeah, or even better, turning off what was leading you to have the feelings you didn't want to have. So, yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah. In fact, Joel Elston has been on a news blackout now for, I think it's about 1.5 years. He's been gone cold turkey, no news at all. And the way he starts his day is you know how YouTube, if you start playing a particular video, it'll try to give you another video to follow it that's on the same topic and so forth. So he'll start off with an Abraham Hicks video, and he'll just let it start playing videos as he's getting ready for his day. So he's hearing all this law of attraction stuff, coming into his head while he's, shaving and brushing his teeth and getting his breakfast and all that kind of thing. And it's good practice.
When I'm doing yoga in the morning, I usually turn on a 10 or 15 minute video on my phone that's just playing while I'm doing my yoga, and it's usually law of attraction based, or, some sort. And
good.
It's a great way to start your day.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
And Bronwyn says that she hasn't been watching TV either. Good for you, Bronwyn. All right. Yeah, we have a bunch of people who are swearing off television. This is good. I mean, the television networks aren't going to like it too much, but it's good for you, so congratulations. And the advertisers are definitely not going to like it, but we could be starting a revolution here.
I watch TV today. I'm not a TV-aholic, but I do watch TV.
The only reason that I watch it at all is Louise watches quite a bit of it, so I hear it in the background even when I'm working, but I wouldn't mind if it was off most of the time. It would make my day go better. I would
actually get rid of all of it and just have Netflix and Amazon TV or whatever. But my husband is a football fan, and we have to have DirecTV so he can have his football.
Yes. Well, there are priorities. Yeah, I mean, yes. Why watch violence on a true crime show or on even a false, fictional crime show when you can watch violence on a sports field,
Yeah, when you can watch football. I know.
Don't let Joel hear me say that, though. Joel and I like to tease each other because he's a big football fan, and I don't like football at all. And I'm a baseball fan. He can't stand baseball, so we're constantly teasing each other about it.
Oh, gee. Well, when I'm watching football with my husband, because, now they have it where they can, the down line or whatever, they'll, highlight it on the field so it's a darker green or whatever. And I'm like, wow, they watered that one part of the grass right there really good, and they didn't water and he just, looks at me and rolls his eyes.
Well, my favorite baseball team since I grew up in New York State is the New York Yankees. And the Yankees have that home field uniform that's the pinstripes, right? That's what they're known for. Well, my wife realized early on that I was a Yankee fan, and she doesn't care about baseball at all, but she would watch some games with me sometimes just because she wanted to do something with me. And so I'm watching the game, and she'd go on to this running commentary about how they're wearing their pajamas. That's what she calls their home uniforms. That's their pajamas. And, they're going to get their pajamas dirty when they slide into second base.
I always call them outfits. He's like, they're uniforms. They're uniforms. I'm like, their outfits are cute. Those aren't outfits. Those are uniforms.
It's a good way to piss off a sports fan, I can tell you.
Yeah. I just kind of mess with them,
Oh, that's funny, though. But it is a good way to get into alignment, so hey, whatever it takes. Oh, my. Well, this has been a good introduction. We got a good chance to find out who you are, and you get a chance to find out who we are, so this has been good. I've been enjoying this. I hope we haven't scared you away.
No, not at all.
Oh, good.
I'll be back.
So that's a good thing. So we can look forward to that next week. Well, actually, next week is Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve, we're not going to be able to do actually, I can't do a podcast because I'm going to be traveling to Rhode Island at that point.
Okay, good, because we're doing a little family thing here.
Good.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so no, we won't be doing a podcast next week. Are you going to be available for New Year's Eve?
Yeah, I should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then we'll just project that we're going to do our next Monday evening podcast on New Year's Eve. So there we go.
Okay.
We just announced it to the world. All right. Well, this has been great. Thank you to people who were participating with our live stream in the Law of Attraction Change My Life group. We appreciate all your comments and a few questions. They were really good. And Shelley, a good first introductory session. I look forward to doing more of them with you.
Yeah, me too. This is great.
Yep, it is good. And we'll see you all next time as well here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.